Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Hairymuppet, and I was actually amazed. I was looking at my YouTube channel content, and I could have sworn I made a video about Autonauts in the past, but I have not done a playthrough, not done a summary video, not do anything like that. And this is probably my second or third full playthrough of Autonauts at this point. The game is, I gotta be honest, is a bit of a slog. So I haven't gone all the way all that often, but oh, look at that, my polls are running out. Yes, but I decided I'd make a video about it because I don't often get to the end game because this game is such a slog, and since I am pretty much at the end game, I thought I might as well go through the video, show you what's going on. And I just realized that my mute button actually does that in the game, which is going to make it a little bit awkward to mute myself when I need to cough. But yeah, we'll see how we do. I probably won't make this video too long because I'm going to be streaming some Factorio later on this morning and I don't want to lose my voice. So yeah, pretty much I'll go through, I'll give you a bit of a tour and then I'll discuss the game because it's a good game, but there are some things that I don't like about it, especially late game. It starts to become an absolute grind, way worse than Factorio. But if you don't know much about Autonauts and you want to sort of get the basics, how to set up bots, how to do all this individual stuff, blah, 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 this is probably not a video for you because I'm not going to go into extreme detail about talking about the individual bots and talking about, for example, the coding. For example, we can go to the forestry, the log collector. He basically finds logs in this area, picks them up, goes to the storage, drops them off. Now, there's a little bit of coding that's a little bit more complicated than that. For example, tree chopper right here. Basically, if his hands are empty, then he picks up an axe. Otherwise, he just continues to chop trees, but he will jump out of that repeat cycle if this storage is full. And it's flagged as full if it's more than like 90% full or something like that, or 95% full. This is written badly because it means that he will continue chopping until his axe gets broken. So I should probably replace this code so that he stops chopping as soon as this gets full, because otherwise you end up with a massive amount of logs everywhere lying around. But if you've got enough collectors, that sort of gets ironed out over time. You end up with a massive amount, and then the collectors will slowly keep filling this up, and then the trees won't be chopped. And eventually, only when you run out of logs and this thing starts going down, will the tree choppers wind up again. But anyway, that code could be improved. But as I said, I'm not going to go. I'm going to talk more about the meta of Autonauts as well. I'll do a bit of a base tour as well, but to be honest, explaining the base is, you can explain it at the high level. Like this is, all right, let's go through the high level and maybe I'll go through at the low level at one particular bit. So this is my forestry area, basically, and these are all my forestry bots you can see over the right hand side, 49. So when I play this game, I play for scale. I try and basically I look at the logs, and if the log storage isn't full at any particular time, then I add more bots. And this is pretty full. I'm not actually sure why it's not 100% full. There have been a few more uses for logs recently, like fueling furnaces and stuff like that. But it's full enough. This is not a situation in which I'd add more bots. This is definitely full enough. And this is stable. You can see in this huge grid, about half to 2/3 of the trees are fully grown and waiting to be chopped down. There's a reasonable amount of holes. There's not too little holes. There's not too many holes. So growing trees, there's a nice amount of them. And everybody looks happy and relatively busy. So it's a good stable system. We're producing a ton of logs, and nothing is too, like, if like 3/4 of this entire plot was just empty holes, then I'd be like, okay, I need to add a few more bots to plant seeds. If 90% of this field was these little growing trees, actually, I think that's impossible. Because, well, let's put it this way. If 90% of this field was these growing trees, then that means the field isn't big enough. That means I need a bigger field because obviously I'm chopping them down. Oh, there we go. It's my last research in the game done. That's a great milestone to reach. But anyway, this is my forestry build over here. Used to be a lot smaller, then I got it a lot bigger. My approach to this game is just to make everything bigger. If you don't have enough trees, make a huge plot and then you're good to go. Which is not a great approach, as I'll talk about later, but let's go through and tour the base. So I've got some mechanical frame saws here, 6 for planks, 3 for poles, 3 for pegs. I probably need 3 more for poles. As you can see, poles are running out. I could also switch these over to the electric saws. Haven't really needed to. In this situation, I'd probably add 3 more of these guys. But as I said, this game becomes a slog. So you kind of, it depends how much time you want to spend. If you've got unlimited time, then go ahead, perfect everything. If you just want to get the game done, then you can get away with doing stuff like this. And I'm at the situation where I just want to get the game done, as I'll explain later. This is my little woodworking setup. So we got all of these guys building these little things. Now, I'll give you an example of the way I sort of build stuff. Actually, if I actually select that, let's just mouse over it. And you can see down the bottom right, it's ingredients. So it takes poles, it takes pegs, and it produces square frames. And the square frames are stored over here. And we're actually out of them, which is not ideal, but probably because I boosted the panel production and panels use square frames. So there's 2 different approaches to building square frames. And this kind of, again, we'll get into this a bit later, but so the 2 approaches are you get one bot to do everything, or you just swarm this particular process with bots. And I usually take the second approach. So the first approach is you get one bot, fetch 4 poles, come back, dump them, then go fetch 4 fixing pegs, then come back, dump them, then something will be outputted, so it picks up the output and puts it in a chest. So one bot doing everything. And that's very efficient for bots. It's also very slow. The second approach is you get one bot doing nothing but bringing poles and coming back, another bot doing nothing but getting pegs and coming back, and then a third bot picking up the product and chucking it in the chest. And that third bot does nothing but picking stuff up, putting it in the chest. It's very fast, but it uses a lot of bots. And as you can see, my bot count over here, I've got 855 bots in the entire system, which is a fairly high amount. 1,000 bots is it's hard to say too much. Let me put it this way. I have 855 bots, and my game runs at an average of about 25 FPS. And it's not a graphical thing. I can turn my graphics settings down to the minimum level. It's a UPS issue. There's no specific UPS counter in Autonauts. It just shows up as FPS, but it is a UPS thing. These bots are killing the game performance. So yeah, 855 bots, 1,000 bots, they kill the game performance. Now, having said that, I am running this game on my laptop, not on a fully built PC. My laptop's not too bad though. I bought it 3 or 4 years ago and it was fairly high end when I bought it. So it's decent. It's absolutely decent. But yeah, I remember even on a PC when I got up to like 1,000 bots, I had this similar problem where it gets down to like 25, 30 FPS. So from a end game Megabase point of view, that's one thing that you need to consider with Autonauts is once you get up close to the 1,000 bot limit, you will start to have significant UPS issues. And if you're playing Enlightenment mode, so there's 2 different modes. There's Settlement mode, there's Enlightenment mode. In Enlightenment mode, the research is much more expensive, like 10 times more expensive, which means you need significantly more guys doing the research, and you need a significantly bigger base. It's basically a mega base. Enlightenment is all about building a mega base, because you've got so much research you've got to slog through that you're either sitting there for hours waiting, or you're building a mega base. Or in my case, you're building a mega base and then you're sitting there for hours waiting anyway, because the requirements are just so ridiculous. But anyway, we'll continue the tour and then I'll sort of get into it. But yeah, we got tools over here, and as you can see, it's usually one guy per ingredient. So for example, for scythes, we got one guy for crude plates, one guy for sticks, and then another guy storing it. So our total amount of toolbots is 48 just for this section here. All these is 48 robots doing all this stuff. And then we got robots building robots. Again, this little section right here is 15 bots just in this area. So I'm really cranking up the amount of robots that I use everywhere, just to increase the throughput of all my goods, because when I have a new build and I'm building stuff, I want to be able to use these guys as soon as possible. Now this is my only, and you can see here, if I send this guy off, this guy immediately runs over and he says, hey, this is empty, I'm going to start building more. And I've actually got him set up to do it 5 times. Every time the thing is empty, it goes through and it builds 5 more robots. So you end up with a nice line of 5 robots there waiting for you, which is great, because when you're doing a new build, you want to program robots like crazy. If you're good at the game, you want to program robots like crazy. And if you're expanding your existing build, you say, all right, I need 5 more robots doing this same job. You want to be able to grab 5 more robots straight away, drag them over, copy and paste the code over to them. So yeah, having this guy build 5 at a time is very, very helpful. So I'm not sure exactly the way I want to get. Let's go over to the settlement area. I don't really need to walk my little guy over, but I will anyway. So this is the settlement area. So right now I've got level 5 colonists. I don't have level 7 because honestly it's not, I'm going to need some level 7 colonists for like achievement purposes, but for ending the game it's not really necessary. Level 6 kind of isn't necessary either, and I'll explain that in a little bit after I go through the base tour. But anyway, this is my settlement area. These are the goods. So basically each of these settlers, these colonists, requires a bunch of different goods. So, and the amount of goods they require increase with their levels. So right now it's food, housing, clothing, toys, and medical. And when you first start off, you just got a little, they're basically lying on the ground and all they need is food. And then you build them a little crude hut, and then they just require the hut and a better quality of food and the log cabin and blah, 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 blah. And then eventually you get up to castles, and then after that there's a pyramid. And for castles, they also require books and art and so on and so forth. So as they go up a level, they require more things. They require higher quality of things. Like this is level 5 food. This is level 4 clothing, actually no, hold on a sec. Yeah, so level 5 food, level 3 clothing, because the houses are technically level 4, and then this is level 2 toys, and then level 1 medical tech. And then when I go up to a mansion, all of these will go up 1. So now the benefit of going up is they produce more love. It's basically a currency that you use for research. So right now, each time they produce a love, it's worth 10,000 research points. So at the earliest level, it's just worth 1. And then you go up a stage and it's worth 10. You go up a stage, it's worth 100. You go up a stage, it's worth 1,000. So if I was to go to level 6, I'd be producing love worth 100,000 instead of 10,000. And I'll go through the research screen right now, just to sort of show you. So basically, this is when you have 1 love, the most you need to produce is 150, which is not too bad. And then when you're producing 10, you have to produce 2.5k. And when you're producing 100, you have to do 30k. And as you can see, it's creeping up. It's creeping up a little bit. Even taking into account the fact that it's multiplying by 10, it creeps up a bit. So we're at 100 here, and now we're at 1,000, and you can see it's gone from 300k to 600k. So it's creeping up. So this is, before it was 300 times, now it's 600 times. Now, 600k, this one's not dead, it's 500 times. So this is where your, I think it's 10,000, so it's 500 times. And then you get to the last level, level 6, and this is potentially where you should be producing 100,000 love per thing. And so you go from 500 times love to produce this to only 100 times to produce this. And this is why I didn't upgrade to level 6 houses, because I thought, okay, I could go through all this pain, make mansions for all 20 of my colonists, and upgrade all the goods to the next level and start producing art and blah, 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 blah. Or I could just let my level 5 base run a little bit longer, because I'd rather let my level 5 base run and need 1,000 love than upgrade my entire base and only need 100 love to produce all these. And that's what I did. I just kept my level 5 base running, and I let it run idle. It probably took like an extra 12, 15 hours to get all this research done. Like 10 million probably took it like an hour and a half. So yeah, all of these 10, 12 hours, something like that. Yeah, and the reason I did that was just because it was becoming a slog. Like, I've already beaten this game a couple of times. The main reason I'm playing this game again is because they introduced some new achievements. I had all the achievements in the game. I was done in Steam. I was like, all right, we're good to go. And then they released a couple more achievements. I'm like, what the hell is Enlightenment mode? I don't understand this. But now I'm going ahead. I'm cracking through Enlightenment mode. To be honest, I'm not sure why I started playing this game again, but I played it for a few days and I got to a decent point and I'm like, okay, I'm going to push through. I'm going to get these Enlightenment mode achievements done, and then I'm going to uninstall the game. And they'll still have 2 more settlement mode achievements, one of which is creating a base with a bot limit, which is going to be a pain in the ass because look at my base. I love making bots. It's got a bot limit of 300, but then again, the research requirements are a lot smaller. So you could probably get away with like 5 colonists and your research will be fine. You're not going to have to wait for like 10 hours for all the research to be done. Yeah, but it is, yeah. Anyway, let's continue with the base tour, and we'll go through all these different goods. So we'll start with the medicine, because medicine is probably the simplest, because we're only making the first tier of medicine. And I actually go through, this game has a very good encyclopedia. So you can see for health, we've only got 3 goods. So this is it's the first one, but it's level 5, because only level 5 colonists actually require medicine. And then level 6, and then level 7. You can see the level 6 takes 1 level 5, and the level 7 takes 1 level 6. So you kind of, it's designed so that you don't need to tear something down when you've built it already. If you've built something, then you just need to keep using it. And for medicine, that's fine. It's just a 1-to-1-to-1 sort of thing. So you don't really need to improve it later on unless you decide to make more colonists. Food, on the other hand, is kind of crazy. Like, this is level 1 food right here. Level 2 takes 4 of level 1. Level 3 takes 2 of level 2. And then level 4 takes 2 of level 3. So you can see the scaling is pretty nutso. Like, it starts to get, you really need to start pushing up your food late game. You need to continually expand your existing builds. You need to make them bigger. You need to make them better if you want to maintain the same amount of colonists going forward. And you kind of have to in Enlightenment mode because the research requirements are so ridiculous. Like 500 research is needed for some of the required techs. And let's have a look at level 5 food over here. Requires a berry pie, and the berry pie requires 3 berry jams. That's really a kick in the nuts right there. We've had all these jumps, and then the last one is 3. It's just like, ugh. The funny thing is level 6 food over here doesn't have another jump. Level 6 food only requires level 4 food. So that's actually quite nice. And then level 7 food just requires one level 6 food. So it kind of stops kicking you in the nuts about level 6 and level 7, which I appreciate. But I didn't actually go to that level because I didn't need to, which is kind of ironic. But anyway, let me show you my food setup over here. So we'll start with the berry patch. It's nice and huge. It's actually backed up because I think toys are the problem for my colonists at the moment, or because I finished research. But anyway, got this huge chest full of berries. We've got this golden path over here for increased movement speed so the bots can transfer over here. Then we got 8 machines creating level 2 food. Each one has its own guy for berries, its own guy for weeds, and its own storer. Actually, no, I think there's 3 storers all together just collecting food. And they chuck it in here. We got a little wagon over here just moving fresh water over into this barrel. The way that wagons work, excuse me. That was me muting the microphone. The way that these wagons work is basically you got one bot moving it from location to location. And if we actually have a look, let me see if I can find the wagon bot in my 83 cooking bots. Freshwater transport. He basically moves over to the freshwater location. He does nothing until this little wagon is full. Then he moves back over to this one. He does nothing until it's empty. And he's got this wagon in his hand, so he can't actually do anything other than wait and move. And then we got these unloaders. They just look for the mobile liquid storage in this area. If they find it, they grab a bucket, they take water out of it, and they put it in this barrel. So you've got separate unloader bots. And that's the best way to do long distance transport. There is also a catapult, which is actually pretty decent. I haven't used it. I probably should use it. If I was going to do another run, I would probably use it a bit more, but I haven't really messed with it too much. And then trains are extremely late game, so by the time you unlock trains, you're pretty much done with the game, and there's no real point switching over to them. And there are no conveyor belts in this game, which is something I'll get into a little bit later, but yeah. And then, so we got 4 making level 3, 2 making level 4, and then level 5 we just got 1 machine. And it's a 2-stage process, but that's all right. And then all of these goods, like the large clay dish, we just have bots dragging them in, like the honey, fresh water, these clay pots. This is probably going to be a problem at some point, but I've done all the research, so I don't really care. But yeah, that is a little bit low. Ideally, all of these chests should be topped off. But then again, this one is full, so yeah, it's not really an issue. But as you can see, that's my food process. And if it looks a little bit simple for level 5 food, that's because it is. So we've got a separate thing for the honey. Let's move over to here. This is my honey setup. We've got 4 skeps and 4 beehives, and we've got a bunch of flowers out here. So the bees basically go out, they sniff the flowers, they come back, they make honey, and then we just shove it in the honey storage. Probably overbuilt on the flowers, but you can't really overbuild in Autonauts. Like, if you underbuild, things will start to fall over. If you overbuild, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. And 10 hours later, when you move up to the next level of food, and you start to realize you need tons more honey than you realized, then you'll come back and realize that your overbuilt honey build is actually underbuilt, and you need to improve it. And we'll get onto that when we get to milk, because milk is nuts. Absolutely, was the biggest pain in the butt. But anyway, over here, this one needs pastry as well. Pastry is a little bit awkward because I've got all my windmills here for my power source. I needed 8 windmills here for this thing because this thing requires power, and it was running 100% full bore, and it makes good flour. And this ratio is actually nuts. This is why I need so much wheat and so much power, because every meal requires 3 pastry. Pastry requires 2 good flour. Good flour requires 6 cereal seeds. So that's 3 times 2 times 6, which is a ratio of 36. So for every meal you give a colonist, you need 36 of these cereal seeds. And that is why, if I minimize this, you can see that I've got 60 bots on cereal. Now that includes the bots making this stuff as well, but yeah. If you want an end game build, which can actually keep up with your colonist demand, then yeah, you will need this many bots. And we'll go into butter at the moment. I got a lot to say about butter, but before we do that, let's just actually have a look at this Enlightenment base, because 20 colonists is a lot. It's a lot more than most people will have. It's definitely a Megabase level of colonists. And the thing is, each one of these produces one love every 135 seconds. And I did the math, and that works out to about 1,500 signs per second, which if you calculate based on 5 million, is like 45 minutes. So even all of these 20, which seems like a huge amount, and it takes these massive builds, these hundreds of bots to keep them going, that still takes 45 minutes to do one of the sciences required by level 5. And these are the ones, you can't even get to level 6 until you do a decent amount of these. Like you need pretty much all of them, like steam engines, rail tracks you can ignore, and bots you can ignore, but everything else you kind of need to get to level 6. So yeah, 45 minutes to get all these done. Now, of course, there's not that much research, but yeah, it definitely takes a while. So imagine if you only had like 5 of these, you'd be waiting 3 hours just to get one research done. It would be like 18 hours to get all of them done. Enlightenment mode is a kick in the nuts. It absolutely is. It is basically they wanted to make it harder, and instead they just made it longer. That's basically how I describe Enlightenment mode. They wanted to make it harder, instead they just made it longer. So there you go. If you want a nice easy version, then go ahead, play settlement mode. If you want a harder version, you can play Enlightenment mode, but it's just longer, and if you try and Megabase it, your computer will die because this game is inefficient. And you get up to almost 100,000 bots and suddenly you're running at 20 FPS and you're like, why am I playing this game? Yeah, it's still an amazing game, but yo, oh my god, not balanced. The engine is not balanced for Megabase levels. So anyway, let's move on from there. And let's go down to butter, which I'm doing down here. So this is my original butter build. So basically butter comes from milk, milk comes from cows. So I had like 20 cows in here. I had 3 of these milking sheds, and it was not keeping up. It was absolutely not keeping up. So what I had to do was I had to produce 3 new builds, 3 identical. I didn't have to produce 3, but I made 3 just to be safe. And yeah, so each of them has about 20 cows in it. And as you can see, they're all, oh God, it's falling over. My base is falling over. I thought I fixed this. Why is the bucket storage empty? Where am I? All right, we're going to do some live debugging on here. This sort of thing happens all the time. All right, so let's go over here. This is empty. As you can see, there's quite a few people here waiting for buckets. Bucket maker. All right. So we got a planks guy here. We don't have a poles. Oh, of course. Buckets are slow because poles are slow. Poles are slow because we just don't have enough productivity. I talked about this right at the start of the game. I could expand poles. You know what? We've done all our research. So in this situation, what I would probably do, I'll probably do it after the videos. I'll just add 3 more of these. Just boom, add 3 more. In fact, I'll start building them now. And mechanical frame saws. I've got my little area over here. This is my building area. So basically I've got 46 bots attached to this one signpost. And I got bots providing logs, bots providing planks, bots providing everything you can imagine. So all I do is put something in here and bots will automatically come over and build it. I've even got bots providing cranks. Cranks are used in very, very little, but I've still got a bot there. There we go, there's another nice cough out of the way. And yeah, so there we go. This is very highly recommended. And for these bots, all you do is basically, you say, go pick it up and then find a nearest blueprint. And when you record this, you can click on this and you can do the little target and then you just select the good sign and you're good to go. Now, to unlock this good sign, you need to do fishing. It's one of these achievements down here. I normally never do fishing because I always go for berries because berries are pretty straightforward. Fishing, yeah, so I had to do a bunch of fishing, blah, 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 bait. Bait you catch with a hand net, fish you catch with a fishing pole, whatever. I did it just to get the good sign unlocked because the good sign has a massive range. All the other signs have much smaller ranges, so having a sign with a massive range is great. Anyway, so that's why this setup is kind of broken. I still got tons of milk, but I just don't have that much butter. Eventually that'll fall over, but as I said, all my research is done, so I don't really care if the base falls over anymore. But yeah, we got cows, we got the milking stations, we got the trough. If they eat from the trough, they produce milk 3 times as fast. If you milk them in a milking shed using a good bucket or a metal bucket, then you get 3 milk per cow instead of just 1, which is really, really nice for your productivity. And basically to make these hay bales, you just use a hay baler, chuck some grass in there, it makes hay, then you just chuck the hay in the trough and they go nuts for it. They will eat that instead of just roaming around eating the grass. Yeah, so that is my milk setup, and I had to go big in order for it to not be the bottleneck for my base. Alrighty, and that's pretty much food. And the other goods, this is my metal setup, this is very ad hoc. There's no actual direct requirement to science on any of this metal, so it's basically just for use for a bit of construction. If I went all the way up to level 7 science, then there would be a direct requirement on the metal. But I'll probably go up to that for achievement purposes, but not for research purposes, because I'm done with research, which is excellent. I literally, the last 2 nights, I've just left the game running overnight to get research done. And yeah, because I want to rush this game. I want it over with. Because I tell you what, here's the thing right here. We'll go over and we'll look at clothing, and I'll tell you what the thing is. This is my clothing build. I use cotton. I got a huge field, and I've never needed the whole thing. My clothing is, I just overbuilt this, and it's been fine ever since. String is a little bit low, still reasonable. Everything else is flashing. You love to see flashing chests. When all the chests are flashing, it's a good sign. Okay, here we go. Here's my string transporter coming in hot. Oh no, that's buttons. Where's my string transporter? He'll be coming in eventually. Unless weeds are... No, here we go. Here he comes. I was about to say I've rebuilt weeds a couple of times. Weeds are used to make string. So yeah, is all full now. That's all good. Also, I've got to talk about, I finished this game. I got to the end. I had 10 colonists. I got them in pyramids. It was beautiful. And then like 3 days after I finished that and got all the achievements done, they released a bunch of new achievements, Enlightenment mode and Settlement mode. And I was like, because I was so burnt out from Autonauts at that point that I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to. Please don't make me play this game again. I've finished and it was a slog and I didn't want to. And a couple of times since then, I started getting into a game, and the slog is real because, the slog is just real. And I'll sort of explain the slog a little bit. Let's talk about clothing, actually. So we got 29 different bots here. And as you can see, there's not actually a lot of... am I at the right place? Cloth, yeah, I'm at the right. There's not a lot of duplicates here. It's not like woodworking where I need 20 people chopping. It's like you got a few with soil, you got a few with cutting the cotton and planting the cotton and moving the crude blades and stuff. But the thing is, all of these individual guys need to be manually programmed. So the guy who does this, you need to manually program it. And manually programming it, you drag the robot over and you say, okay, this is what I want you to do, and then you do it. And then you just go forward and basically grab a thread, move it over there, and you're done. And it's easy. It's simple. It's pretty straightforward. But the reason it's a slog is because that's all you ever do, really. I mean, that's 80% of the game is programming bots. And the other 20% is basically planning your base, planning where things are going to go. And that 20% is interesting. It's nice. The fact that you're like, okay, where am I going to put this huge plot? All right, get the bots to start. Because obviously I'm not going to dig up all this landscape by myself, all this terrain, and make it soil. You get a few dummy bots to come in here with shovels, and I actually got rid of my shovel build. I probably had shovels being delivered over here at some point to clear this area out, and then I got rid of the shovel storage. But yeah, you get a few bots in, you get a shovel storage, you start digging this area out, and then you set up the proper build to till it and stuff like that. But yeah, 80% of the time is just telling bots what to do. You're just programming bots. And let's put it this way. Imagine if you're playing Factorio. I'm assuming everybody on here has played Factorio before. If you haven't, go check it out. It's better than this game. Imagine playing Factorio and you've got no conveyor belts and your base is completely bot controlled, and every single bot has to be manually told what to do and which chest to go to. I could just hear everybody's brain just switching off right there. And it's just, it's more complicated in Autonauts because the bots can do pretty much anything you can do, they can do. There's a few limited exceptions, but yeah, pretty much anything you can do, they can do, which means let's put it this way. The benefit of being able to manually control the bots is you can do a lot of really interesting things. Like you can have one bot making it. I could have one bot pulling this thread out, making the cloth, then taking the cloth and putting the cloth in the storage. I could have one bot doing that and then creating the tunics potentially. Like you could have one bot doing both of them if you're really creative and if you really have high-level bots with lots of memory. Like this guy's got 12 kilobytes free. He's got lots of extra memory for more instructions. And you can add modules to your bots to make them have even more memory. You can add modules to your bots to make them faster and blah, 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 which I didn't really bother to do. Maybe I should have. It could have reduced my need for more bots. A lot of interesting stuff you can do. But the thing is, if I make a really interesting bot that does 3 things at a time, it's going to do it slower. It's going to be, the whole process is slower. The point of a Megabase is to make things faster. So if you want to make a Megabase, you have one bot doing one simple job, and you have another bot doing another simple job. And if that particular job needs to be done fast, then you have 3 bots doing it. And that's how you build a Megabase. And that means you are, instead of just setting up 5 or 10 bots doing really complicated, interesting jobs, you're setting up 100 bots all doing simple jobs, and it's a slog. It's an absolute slog to build a Megabase. And after a while, you set up one bot and you can just copy and paste it. So you got this cool little data storage, you just copy and paste it. And after a while, that's what it is. You grab 5 more bots and then you drag them over. You say, all right, here's your name. You copy the program off the existing bot and then you paste on a new one. But even then, that's a slog as well. There's a bot database as well, which I never really used. And maybe I'm giving shit to this game because I'm not using it properly. Maybe I should be using this database properly to move programs between bots, which would probably make it a little bit easier to move data between bots. But even then, I mean, you're still doing the same thing. You're still just moving stuff around bots. And the interesting thing is, yeah, it's a very interesting game that's designed around not having conveyor belts. Which, look, I've played a fairly decent amount of factory building games. So my main games are Factorio, Satisfactory, Dyson Sphere Program, Shapes 2. Those are the 4 games that I've really finished and done a decent amount on and actually bashed away. In Factorio, obviously, I've got the most time because I've done a ton of different mods and stuff like that. All 4 of those games have conveyor belts. And playing a game without conveyor belts makes you appreciate how good conveyor belts really are, because conveyor belts are basically a small amount of throughput over infinite distance. That's basically how you define conveyor belts, a small amount of throughput over unlimited distance. And in this game, you don't need a lot of throughput. Well, you do for some starting goods like forestry, for example. Your log production, you need a ton of throughput to create logs and then to create planks and then to create poles. But this is one of the very few situations where I need more than one machine. The vast majority of cases, you just need one machine doing something. For example, with my clothing, is one machine per stage. One machine, one machine, one machine. If you want it to go faster, you chuck an extra bot throwing thread into here. You have 2 bots throwing thread in. You could have an extra machine as well, but you'll get a significant speed up just from having 2 bots throwing thread in, because the travel time, the bot has to go back, pick up the thread, and then come back. And that travel time is time that the machine is not running. You see what I'm saying? The machine only runs when a bot is putting stuff into it, and if a bot is over here picking stuff up, it's not putting stuff into it. And you don't have conveyor belts. You don't have inserters. You don't have any of that. Your robot has to be standing at the machine, but it can't be standing at the machine if it's over somewhere else picking up some goods. So that's the nature of the game. If you want high throughput, you got to really add more bots. Like we had a look here. Now this one is actually not too bad. It's the amount of downtime, because it doesn't have thread, is not too bad because I've kept them nice and close. A lot of the design choices you'll be making in Autonauts is making sure that your machines are nice and close to reduce the transportation time of the robots, to make sure that the robots get from one place to another as quickly as possible to reduce downtime of your machines. And that's why we have this flow here. So they store the raw cotton here, it gets threshed, and it moves over here. Ideally what I'd have is I'd have the cereal over here. I'd have this moved over 2 places and this moved over 2 places, so that when they pop this out, it can go into this spot a little bit quicker. It doesn't matter too much, but if you want it to be perfectly efficient, yeah. And you could move it even closer. Like I have these nice gaps between the machines. These are aesthetic. You could get rid of these and move everything even closer. A lot of the end game bases that I see other people have on YouTube are just like really close cities. Like they won't have big fields like this. They'll have this little 3x3 field of cotton, and then they'll have everything squeezed in nice and close. Now then again, like I said, I overbuilt this. Cotton I massively overbuilt. But yeah, some other things like forestry, I didn't overbuild. That one I needed it. But then again, there is a special tree seed planting spot that I could have used that I never bothered to use because I didn't need it because my existing forestry build was enough. So yeah. So the thing about not having conveyor belts is you're not designing around conveyor belts. You're just designing about reducing transport speed. For a Megabase, you're basically reducing transport speed, reducing transport time. And what that means is that the most efficient way to build your base is to cram every single building as close together as possible, which is a pain, because if you cram every single building together as close as possible, then it makes expanding the base a nightmare. And this is why this game really suffers from a lack of conveyor belts, because, as I said, conveyor belts provide a very small amount of throughput over infinite distance, which gives you the freedom to have massive sprawled out bases. Like, I could have this base out here, and I could have a conveyor belt going from here to here, and the conveyor belt would give me the same throughput as if I had this base right next to where it needs to be. And that's the beauty of having conveyor belts, is you can spread your base out. You can plan it big. You can say, all right, I'm going to leave this room to have it bigger later on. And in Autonauts, you're kind of fighting to actually spread out. It's like spreading out is not efficient unless you really know what you're doing. Like, for example, over here, I've got a transport wagon that comes over here. It picks up 4 of these and then moves them back. And the transport wagon isn't coming over here because, well, it's over here. We're not backed up. We're backed up on clothing right now. We don't need any more clothing. And there's enough for all these guys, which is fine. But yeah, it's, if you don't know how to use these transport carts like late game and stuff like that, you really have to figure this sort of stuff out, because you need to work around the limitation of not having conveyor belts, of not having that throughput over long distances. So you really need to get your transport logistics under control. And yeah, again, we mentioned the catapults as a good alternative. I think I have a catapult built here somewhere. Basically, it's got a decent range. So if we put that there and we use it, basically you just determine where you want the catapult to be thrown. So we could just select there, for example, and then we just pick up this shirt, put it in there, and it'll throw it. And you can see it's a pretty slow to rewind, but it throws it all. So you could get another bot to pick this up. I actually want to have a look and see if that can throw, if we can throw level 5 goods with this catapult, because that would be, wait a sec, we just moved it, so I'm going to make sure it's still aiming correctly. It does have a range, but you could just build 2 of these catapults and then just have a guy in the middle just sort of moving from one to the other. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, I really should have used catapults a bit more. So yeah, catapults, awesome. Although if I rebuilt a base and used tons of catapults, I'll probably find that they have some sort of UPS deficiency. I'm complaining a lot. I like this game still, but yeah, it's not designed for Megabases. 860 bots. Actually, my FPS has gone up to 30. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why it's gone up to 30. But yeah, here comes my cart coming back to pick up some more guys. So this is not too bad once you understand how to use carts, but carts are tricky to use. You got to do some dummy program on your bot just to get it to pick up the cart, and then you got to actually get it to move over and do some stuff. But yeah, you can see these bigger goods, they're very, very slow. The bots take ages to actually move around, and we can actually see here, are there any bots moving some goods around? What are these guys running out of? I don't think anybody's actually, oh, here we go. See, it's level 5 food. Look at that bot go. This is a level 3 bot. There's one tier below the highest bot. Maybe, now, I haven't upgraded these guys' speed, so that's probably my fault as well. You probably want to upgrade the speed of these guys, but I'm not sure it'll make too much difference. Just look how slow he is. And the answer to this, of course, is just to add a second bot, which is what I did. But yeah, it's kind of ironic that the answer to most of your problems is to add more bots, but adding more bots tanks your UPS. If there was no UPS issues in this game and you could have 2,000 bots, then this game would be, you could build a very decent Megabase in this game. You would be able to go nuts. But even then, that's 2,000 times you're going through a bot and manually telling it what to do, or copying and pasting and blah, blah, blah. And it's still a slog. It's still just a slog. So yeah, it's not like, and there's no blueprints either. You got a select thing where you can, well, I'm not sure the keyboard shortcut for it. You can say, all right, well, I want another of these, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, there's no copy and pasting. There's no blueprinting or anything like that. Not that I know of anyway. You got a few options over here. You got duplicate structure, but that's just for a single structure. You can move existing builds, which I like. I could select this. Well, I could select all the buildings here. I can't select the actual cotton patch, but I could select the buildings and move them wherever the hell I wanted, which is nice. So that is a nice feature. But yeah, no blueprints, no copying, pasting other than that, which means if you want to expand a structure, you need to do it manually. Like creating all this and setting up the robots for it took me like an hour. So yeah, in Factorio, if I had this and I wanted to create 2 more, that's 10 seconds. In Autonauts, if I got 1 and I want to create 2 more, that's like a good 20 minutes. Because you gotta get some guys to start digging the soil out, and you gotta set them up manually. You gotta make sure there's some shovels down here for them to use. They'll start digging up turf. You gotta get the turf and you gotta stick it in a mystical stone head to get rid of it. You gotta manually build all these buildings, and you don't just lay them down and build them. You have to make sure they're available. So if you don't have enough barrels, you have to go up to your building area. You have to say, okay, how much barrels I got? I don't have any. So I want to build 9, 12 of them. And then you'll come back in like 5 minutes and they'll all be built. And then you delete them from up there. And then once you delete them, after they've been built, they show up in your inventory with a little 4 next to them. And then you can build them anywhere you want, which is a nice little feature, because it means that you don't have to have them stored in your inventory. You could be on one side of the map and you can build buildings on the other side, but you can't do that with robots. If you want to program a robot, you have to physically be over there to tell it what to do. And so you have to pre-build all these buildings, and then you have to actually lay them all out, and you can't copy and paste. You have to make sure they're in the right position. And then you have to set up the bots, and the bots is the slowest part. And in this case, what I would probably do is I'd grab like an existing bot, like the bot that cuts grass. I'd grab him, I'd copy his code, I'd paste it into a new bot. I'd go in, I'd manually edit his code to drag the area from here over to here and change the storage from this one over to this one. And then you'd be good to go. But yeah, as I said, 20 minutes to set up another one of these. It's slow. It's definitely not a game that you can sort of speed through. It's a bit of a slog. But it's a slog if you're trying to make a Megabase. If you're happy for it to be slow, then you're okay. But yeah, if you're happy for it to be slow, then don't play Enlightenment, because in Enlightenment, you need to build a Megabase. And even if you build a Megabase, you're still going to have a slog. And if you try and build a Gigabase with 2,000, 3,000 bots that goes at a reasonable pace, your computer will die. So yeah. What haven't I talked about? We've talked about clothing. It's basically cotton. Got some little bits. String comes from weeds. Buttons comes from wood. And so that's not too bad. This is my weed setup at the moment. You just dig them up. Every time you dig them up, you get 2 weeds that pop up. You plant one back in and it grows again. So it's a self-doubling procedure. and you just need to have enough to sort of chuck in here. And you chuck it in a string maker, it makes string, and then you chuck it in a spinning wheel and it makes thread. And some of these more advanced buildings, they require wooden floors, or they require some sort of floor. And then some buildings require walls. And then some buildings, like these really advanced ones, require power. So you got these windmills, and these are basically power poles over here. And I do like this. This is very aesthetically pleasing, the way that they do power. And the way this actually works is it takes like 10 seconds to charge up. And once it gets fully charged, it's got 50 power. And as soon as this runs, like this one, for example, takes 100 power. So 2 of these will have their power bars drained back down to 0, and then they'll have to regenerate it over time. So that's why you have 6 of these and blah, 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 blah. So we go over to my metal thing. I've actually got 3 water wheels, which have 150 power each. And I got 5 of these guys, and I got room for a whole bunch more windmills. So we can really power it. Because metal, these guys are like 100 power here, 100 power here, 50 power here. There's a lot of power that gets used in here. And this would be going nuts if I was actually using it for research. So I do need to get some amount of level 7 colonists to get an achievement. So this will probably be spinning up quite a lot. But anyway, we talked about clothing. Toys is not too bad. It does take some serious ingredients, like we need wool blanket, which you already saw my sheep set up. It was in the bunch of sheep in the same pen as the cows. Wooden buttons, thread, which gets made from string, straw, good wheels, boxes, panels. These are very complicated ingredients, and we're running out of boxes. Now, we were running out of panels, now we're running out of boxes. And then that's to make the second tier toy. And yeah, so it's not too complicated, but some of these products, like when you first make panels, you think, wow, these are complicated. Thank God I'm just using them to build buildings. And then you figure out that level 3 bots require a bunch of them, and you're just like, all right, I gotta start spamming them up because I want as many bots as possible. And then you realize that toys require them, and you're like, oh, I better go spam them up. And right now, this is the only panel build I've got. And this is the only square frame build I've got. So I'd probably need to expand these. Having said that, this is slow because Poles is dead. So if Poles wasn't dead, this would probably be a lot more healthy. This would be a lot more healthy. And the box frames require 2 square frames. So yeah, I just need to fix Poles. And then potentially all of this would just start to regenerate itself. But yeah, as toys are not too bad. A lot of the late game things that you build are kind of like this. The actual process, 2 machines, is pretty simple, but the ingredients, you just start pulling ingredients from everywhere. The general rule of thumb in Autonauts is don't make any temporary builds. Okay? Let's say you got a new building that you want to make, and this new building requires a box frame. And you're like, oh, I just need a box frame for this one building. I'm just going to build it manually using a temporary workbench, and then I'll ignore it. Don't do that. Automate it straight away. Get a professional, get a proper bench, get a proper chest, chuck some bots at it. If you're building a Megabase, get 1 bot for each ingredient, and make it properly and put it in a chest. Because you will need more of it eventually. Now, maybe there's some crazy stuff that you only need 1 of, but even if you only need 1 of it, the chest will fill up and then all the bots will stop. And it's fine. Just do that. Just do that for pretty much everything you need. Don't make the mistake of just manually creating stuff because you think you won't need it later. Just automate it. But it's a slog. It's a slog to automate it. It's a slog because you've got to go through all these different things, and there's so many of them. And sometimes you just think, you know what, I don't want to make a build for this. I don't want to make another build. I've made 10 builds in the last hour. I don't want to make another build. I just want to get to the next stage where I can actually get research done. But it's a good idea to just make it. You just make it, because otherwise you'll need to handcraft it 10 more times, and then you'll need it for toys, and then you'll be like, oh, I wish I had just automated it 2 hours ago. Then I would just have it there, because there's no better feeling than making a new build and realizing, hey, I've got everything. I've just got to transport it in. I've got everything. And then, of course, you start building it for research, and you realize that the automated build you made is falling over, or poles are falling over, or milk is falling over, or this is falling over, that is falling over. And in settlement mode, it's not too bad, because you don't need that much research. But in enlightenment mode, it's a slog. It's a slog. I seriously, at one point when I had level 4 guys, I was seriously considering going up to 40 colonists, because it was just so slow. It was just so slow. I left the game running overnight for level 4 colonists, and then I let it run overnight for level 5 colonists, and now all my research is done. But yeah, it was slow. It was an absolute slog. And I think when I left it running overnight for level 4, it still didn't go through all of them, because my milk was bad. So yeah, I had to wake up in the morning and build that up from scratch, and yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There's toys. Medicine is pretty much straightforward. You get leeches and fresh water, which is easy, and clay jars, which you just make here. You can mine clay out of the ground. You take it into raw clay pots and dishes and blah, 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 blah. And then you just... Ooh, we're actually running low on clay jars. I'm using them for ink as well. And then this pile is so huge because these guys are eating level 5 food. After they finish the food, they chuck out a raw tray, which is nice because you just put it back here and it just gets recycled. Because if I dump it here in the output lane of the kiln, the bot that stores it will pick it up from there, and the bot that makes the large K dishes will realize, hang on, my output is full, I'm not going to make anymore. So it's a perfect way of recycling. Now, you may be tempted to say, okay, well, I need the large clay dishes over here, so I'm just going to take the ones that get chucked out by my colonists and just chuck them in this chest. But what happens is when this chest gets full, the guy returning it just ends up sitting there waiting, and then you end up with 1 million dishes just lying around. Which is not bad, but it's just messy. So I just put them here instead. And they just end up like this. Technically, this shouldn't be so high. I'm not sure why it is so high. Anyway, it really shouldn't be that. It should be recycling a bit more efficiently, but whatever. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I think I've gone over the... I say I'm going to do a quick video, then I go over the hour mark. But anyway, this is pretty much it. I got a few achievements to do for this silly game. I got to get level 8, and then I got to do this. This is thing that annoys me. Like, I got a lunch achievement, smorgasbord, and banquet. And the lunch requires 3 different things that I'm not making. Smorgasbord requires 3 different things I'm not making. Banquet requires 7 different things. Now, berry Danish I will make as part of getting level 7 colonists. Level 8 colonists. Level 8 colonists you get when you build the pyramid. But the other 6 I don't make. So we have a look at like carrot burger or something like that. The carrot burger is as complicated as this build. Okay? All 6 of these ruddy things, apple Danish, fish burger, pumpkin burger, cream brioche, berry Danish, they're all as complicated as this. Obviously, I won't need 8 machines making level 2 food because I don't care about throughput for an achievement. But they're all as complicated. They've all got this many steps to go through. My only hope... Let's have a look at... Where's the fish burger? Fish burger. Yeah. The good thing about having to make all these is most of the wacky side ingredients I've probably already got. Eggs I'll need to make for level 7 berry food anyway, so that's fine. So we've got good dough, egg, and then fish cakes requires fish cakes raw, which requires fish stew. cake batter. So it's not too bad. But yeah, we'll have to go through all of these different things and blah, 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 blah. Thankfully, most of the side ingredients I've already got. That's nice. I can go in the menu and press the spacebar, and it doesn't pop up anything silly. So yeah, maybe that's what I'll do. Once I've got all the other achievements, I'll just reuse this, and I'll just change this one over to be... I'll set up probably a new setup, because the problem is clearing out these storages will be a pain in the ass. So I'll set up a new setup, one crude pot, one crude cooking pot, one cauldron, and basically I'll just change the recipes over. And I'll just have like a conga line of bots taking directly from the output of one machine to the input of the next, and I'll have good flour, and I'll have good pastry, and I'll have good dough and all that lying around. It wouldn't be too hard. Yeah, but it's still like you got to get fish from somewhere, you got to get carrots from somewhere. Like, oh man, there's just so much. Like you think, oh, it's just a little bit extra, but there's like medicinal leeches right here. Like the next level of medicinal leeches, like the next level, requires all these flowers. Chamomile, primroses, asters. I've already got one flower set up for the bees, and I'd have to set up another one. Like you have to set up a little patch. You have to clear out the soil. You probably don't need to till it. I'm not sure. Maybe you could till it. Maybe you couldn't. You need these little hoes to till it, but you probably set it up. Get a bunch of bots to set up an empty area. Find the flowers, plant them, and then you've got to actually get some bots in to cut them down, put them in a chest, put the seeds somewhere, blah, 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 blah. Set up a rotation to actually produce them. And there's another 20 minutes. It's another 20 minutes and maybe another 10 of waiting for the bots to clear out the area. Maybe 5 or something like that, depending on... For this area, it probably takes them a good 20 minutes, 10, 20 minutes to clear it out. So you want to multitask. You want to look ahead. You want to say, okay, I need some flowers. I'm going to set some bots up now to clear this area. I'll come back in 20 minutes and the area will be clear and I can start working on it. If you just do one thing at a time, you are going to be wasting time. You need to be efficient in this game. You need to know what you're doing ahead of time. When you go up to level 6, you need to be saying, okay, what do I need next? I need some placebo. What do I need? Chamomiles, asters. All right, let's go dig some plots for those right now. And while they're digging, I'm going to move over here and go see what this guy needs. I'm going to move over here and see what this next level of thing needs. Okay. These I've already what? This is pretty crap. Let's go fix poles. And then by the time you fix poles, you come back and you can start actually working on the chamomiles and the asters for the medicine. And you do that. You're sort of all over the place because things are just slow. So you kind of have to work around the fact that your bots are doing things slowly. And if you try and make it quicker by only making a small plot, it's going to bite you in the end. So you kind of have to go big. Go big or go home is kind of the moral of this game, but then your UPS goes down the toilet. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this game. I think I've talked enough about this game. And I've actually got a Factorio stream later, so I'm kind of destroying my voice, which is not a good idea. But yeah, there we go. That has been Autonauts. Great. I'll tell you what, if you really want to play Autonauts, play it on settlement mode and ignore the bot limit. Just play it, just have fun. If you really like it, go into Enlightenment mode, but either have a beast of a PC or be prepared for your UPS. Geez, my FPS just jumped down to 17 for a second. That's incredible. Be prepared for your machine to just go down the toilet. Yeah. And if you're an achievement junkie like I am, then you will have to do Enlightenment mode and you'll have to go to the end of the game with it. Just do it once, get it over with. And then settlement mode, you'll have to do it with 300 or less bots. That's going to be slow. It's going to be faster than Enlightenment mode because you don't need as much research, but it's going to be slow because this is just a level 5 base. To get to level 7, we're going to need a whole bunch more stuff, as I've already shown you. So yeah, that's going to be painful. And it's going to be the bad sort of painful, because it means you've got to have incredibly slow bots doing incredibly complicated tasks to remain under the 300 bot limit. Or you're going to have to shut down builds. That's one of the good things about Autonauts, is I can just have 46 builder bots just sitting there. And they're idle 99% of the time. But the 1% of the time I need them, they're there. And they're beautiful for that 1%. And yeah, with a 300 bot limit, you're not going to be able to afford to have 46 builder bots. You probably have like 5 or 10 of them doing the most critical tasks. And then when you're building a mechanical frame saw and you need cranks, I'm sorry, you can't afford a bot to grab cranks and to build them for you. You're going to have to do it manually, which means every time you build a frame saw, you're going to have to fetch it manually. And you're going to have to do a lot of manual fetching. And you're going to have to make your base nice and compact so you can cut down on the amount of bots that do transport. And you're not going to be able to afford to have a transport cart, because a transport cart requires a bot at each end to load and unload, and you can't afford those extra bots. You're just going to have one bot transporting things. But look at the speed of the bots transporting this. How are you going to transport this long distance? You're going to have to make your food build really close to your settlers. But if you make your food build really close to your settlers, then how are you going to expand your food build when you need to move from level 5 to level 6? Or from level 6 to level 7. It's a nightmare. I don't want to do that. I want to get the achievement, but I really don't want to do that. You're going to end up, it's going to be a pain. It's going to be an absolute pain. I don't know. Maybe when I do that, I'll come back to it, but I'm not going to do that straight. Maybe I'll wait for like 6 months. That's my attitude with that Autonauts. I'm like, oh, I'm done with this. I still need to get the other achievement, and I'll wait 6 months. And then when I'm in a better mood, I'll go and I'll get that achievement. That's not a good attitude to have for a factory builder game. But then again, that's Autonauts. And look at this serial builders, man. I actually had to, I'll show you this build, and then we'll sign off. Because here you need straw and you need cereal. So you want these guys to cut the cereal if either of these is empty. And I actually had to make a really interesting bit of code for this. So basically, this whole thing repeats one time, but it's inside a forever loop. So the whole point of this repeat is you go through and check is the straw storage full? And is the cereal storage full? And if they're both full, you exit the repeat. And then this loops you back in and you check it again. So you end up in an infinite loop. Now, of course, I screwed up this code by putting a repeat until hands empty. If you are ever tempted to put a repeat until hands empty, don't. Don't absolutely do it. This is what you're supposed to do. I've been doing this for a while. It's dumb code. I don't know why I did it for so long. If hands empty, move to that, do that. There. That's much better code. Repeat until hands empty is... It sounds good when you first do it, but it's dumb code. Don't do that. Do an if check. If hands empty, grab a tool, continue on. But anyway, this guy is not going to cut anything anymore, which is nice. But then, of course, I've got 4 other guys. So what am I going to do? Go through manually and update them? Or march my ass over, copy and paste? Anyway, we'll sort that out later. So this is Autonauts. And yeah, I think I pretty much said everything I needed to say about this game. It's awesome. It's a slog. Play settlement mode, have some fun. Enlightenment mode, prepare for the pain. And thank you very much for watching. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you guys later.